Hi, my name is Anita Moore and I'm a decorative painter. And today I want to share with you one of my projects that was published in the Painting World magazine. And it's called Tree Sparrow. And it's painted on a wood panel. If you haven't checked out the magazine, please do so. It's called Painting World magazine. Today I'm going to be painting with you. It's called the Happy Holidays gift box, and it's a paper mache box. You're going to learn how to do the stamps with stampendous, and this here is with stencil and modeling paste. I look forward to doing this project with you, so let's get started. I'm going to turn my camera around to this little area here. Okay, and make sure it's straight. Okay, I'm going to be using the paper mache box. I have scrapbook paper. It doesn't matter what's on the background because it's going to be painted over. We're going to be using black gold brushes by Dynasty and some Americana acrylic paint. And the stamp that we're going to be using is called Leafy Holiday. It's from Stampendous. You can get them at Painting with Deb. And I have also a mini little snowflake stencil, and this is by Studio R12. I'll have all the lists written at the bottom of my YouTube video, and I'm going to have this pattern packet on my website if anyone is interested in following with me. So the first thing that we're going to do is trace out my little gingerbread here. So I have my tracing paper. So today I'm showing you how to apply a pattern onto a surface. So you also need a stylus so that you can trace this. So you go all the way around. No need to add the details. That is all done freehand. Or if you're more comfortable, you can also trace it on. A little candy cane. Okay. So it's very faint, which is fine. So now I want to apply my stamps, and the one that I used for this project was, I need to move my camera just a little bit. Okay, right there. Okay, so the stamp that I used was the hollies here with the berries, the Happy Holiday, and I also used this one right here. Okay, I'm gonna just push this aside. I used the Ranger Archival ink. I like this one because it's waterproof, so you can paint over top the ink and it dries really fast. So I have my candy canes here, and this is the one that I used, which was the one with the berries. So I'm going to use a little smaller block here. I'm going to put it on. And you always want to test your ink on paper, scrapbook paper, just to make sure that it's the stamp has all the ink on it. So I'm going to apply ink. I'm going to stamp on it. And it looks pretty good. So now I'm going to apply to in between my candy canes here. So right there. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to take this one off. Get the leaf one. And the leaf is done right along the gingerbread's body. Okay, let's test this one. Yep, pretty good. I'll just put that aside. And so it's a little bit on its hand as well. It's like not going to look the same because depending on where you're placing your stamp. Okay, so I have it on my gingerbread hand and a little bit on the candy cane. And now I'm going to do my happy holidays. Make sure it's not upside down. Okay, let me stamp this. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to put it about here. Okay, so we're done with the stamping. Let's put that aside. Okay, so I have my paper mache box here. I had applied a multi-purpose sealer on it. And let me just move my camera a little bit more so that I can see. Okay, so I applied multi-purpose sealer on it, and I base coated a couple coats with Whispering Turquoise, very pretty color. And I didn't paint the top because we're going to apply this scrapbook paper on top of it. And for that, I used the matte medium by Deco Art Tradition. So I'm going to apply even layer on top of this here. And I'm using the Palmer brush. It's by Dynasty. These brushes are great for any types of mediums. Okay, so let's put this on top, and you're going to want to place it where a little over the edge here. I don't want to take my hand off a little bit. There we go, about like this. And you're going to press hard on it just so that it glues onto the top of the box. Okay, I'm going to apply another layer of matte medium over top of this. Okay, and you're going to go over the edge a little bit here. So just apply an even coat. Okay, I'm just gonna close my lid here. We're done with this. Let me put that aside. Okay, so now we need to dry this so that we can sand the excess paper. So I'm gonna just dry this. So I used just a regular fine sandpaper. If I can find my piece of paper. So this sometimes takes a while to dry. Still wet. Just want to make sure you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, it's just a little bit wet on top there. Okay, now what I want to do is sand all along the edge here, all the excess paper. So I'm going to use this little sanding pad because I don't know where I put my sandpaper. So what you're going to do is rough off the edge. Okay, without me moving my table here. So it's going to rip. Eventually it'll gotta do it a little harder here. I might have to get sandpaper. Just rip off the edge just a little bit. So you're going to see some blue and you're going to see some roughed up edges, and which is okay because when you're going to apply a float on it, it makes it different tones of brown, because this is going to have a different layer of paper on top. I'm going to keep sanding this, and I'm just going to rip it up. And I even did a little bit on here because I left a little edge there. So just keep ripping it up. Not very good sanding, but okay. Whoops. Sandpaper. Alright, and there you have like a little rough edge for my little design. Let's clean up this mess. I'll get a baby wipe here to clean up my table. Okay, so I have my little lid here. Rip this off. If you want to rip more, you can while it's still a little wet. I'm just going to rip this off right here. Okay. Now, we need to float all along the edge with some Calypso blue. I have my palette paper here. I'm going to apply a dab. And we only did like along the gingerbread here, but the bottom sections. And the first thing before I paint, we can also do the edge afterwards with asphaltum. That's okay. So let's put some paint on here. Oh, I need to shake it a little bit more. It's a brand new bottle, so my conditioner just came out. Let me put that back in there. If you ever get like the conditioner liquid come out first before the paint, put it back in and shake it some more. That's what keeps your paint from drying. It's in your bottle. Okay, let's try this again. That's a little bit better. Okay, so to float around the edge, I used an angle brush. You can, did I use an angle brush or a flat brush? Nope, I used a number 10 shader. Okay, so I want to wet my bristles, and I'm going to float along this little edge here, so it's like a little C-stroke along the bottom over here, his body. And if you need to, you can soften your floats with a little mop brush. You can soften it up. Okay, and where else did I go? On the bottom of the candy here. It's really hard to say. My candy cane's not really dark here. I do along the leaf here. Okay, I'm going to take my mop brush. I just want to soften it up. Okay, and I'm going to go along the edge over here. Okay, I went along the little berries. So you're going to float anywhere that's underneath an element here, so that it makes it a shadow effect. Okay, it's okay if I got a little bit below my berries. Okay, and then I need over here the next little candy. Put that right there. Okay, and a little bit underneath these hollies here. So I keep loading on the same area for my floating, and I need to go around my gingerbread arm right here. So right there. Okay, so along each little leaf here underneath, so you're gonna apply a float there. I lift up my I lift up my bristle just a little bit when it's a tight little area. Okay, and I got one over here and over here. Okay, and I'm gonna do along its neck right here and head. Okay, and I think I got everything. Okay, so now I want to apply the asphaltum along the edge here. So let's get that out. Again, always shake your bottles before opening them. Okay, so I just wet the edge there a little bit with water. And so this is going to be done messy. So see how when it's just white paper, how darker it is compared to the scrapbook paper? So if you find your brush is not wet enough, just add a little bit more water to your bristle. That way the paint spreads a little bit better. I'm just going to apply a little bit more. And it's okay If you get it on the box too, that's fine. So now we did that side. So I'm gonna, so I keep wetting my bristle because it's paper's a little different to paint on. Okay. And it's okay if you go along the stamp area. Keep loading. I find that's very dry, so I didn't bring my extender. Usually I use extender. And one more side. Got a little piece too big right here. Let me just cut this. Okay. So I think I'm going to put a little bit more brown on that side there. I just find like there's not enough. So let's just add some here. And let's add a little bit more in this corner here. Right here. Just walk it a little bit. Okay, so I'm happy with how my edge looks like. Okay. So we're going to start with the gingerbread. And the gingerbread is base coated with sable brown. And for that I used a filbert. It's a number 6 filbert to base coat my gingerbread. Okay, I'm going to wet my brush here. Load. And I always make sure that I don't overload my brushes when I'm base coating. Okay, so I'm going to go over that float that I did for my gingerbread. Oops. Okay, and I went by the leaf here. Should have did that a little darker. It's hard for me to see where my lines are. Okay, need a little bit more water. And if you find you need a second coat, then let it dry and add another one. And there's a little V in here somewhere. Which is probably gone now. Okay, I have my little foot right here. Oops, I covered my V one side. Let me wash it off. Let's just wash the little V. That's the little separation of the legs. Okay, so we might add a second coat there when it dries a little bit more. So we can add some white or candy canes. So let me get my my white here. Oops. You can use snow white or warm white. So right here I have warm white. Okay. And I used a filbert. I like base coating with filbert, but always use the brush that's best suited for you. So this here will need a couple coats of white. Okay, here's my one side. Let's do this one. Okay, I think I'm going to make this candy cane just a little bit bigger here because the other one's big. You can always fix things while you're base coating. That's the best time to do it. Okay, let's dry this off and we'll add a second coat to our gingerbread and our candy canes here. So let's dry that off. Okay. I'll add another little coat. And like my paper looks blue, so what I did was a wash of blue. We can either do it while the base coating is there, or we can do it at the end. Okay, so I'm adding another coat of sable brown to the gingerbread here. When I base coat, I always go like the one direction. I try not to go like this way and then different directions, because that's why you get those different lines on your base coating. So I always like to go one way in the shape of your design. So that's my second coat. Let's add some more warm white to the candy cane here. That white, you're probably going to need 3 coats. So while that dries, we can always go on to another little section while that dries. So we can do the little wash of blue here. So what I did, I took like a flat wash. This is a 3/4, but if you feel like you need the smaller size, then you can use it. So what I did was I added water to the background here like this. Okay, and I picked up some of this, what was it, Calypso blue. So I want to water that down just a little bit more. So you're kind of adding like a wash. Okay. And when that dries, it'll have different texture of blue. I went right over the happy holiday. Okay, I got paper here. Let's pick up a little bit more blue. I'm going to go inside here. I'm trying not to get onto my stamped area. I'll try and leave it natural. And then I added some here. So now I need to add a little bit of water in these sections here. I'm going to clean my brush, a little bit of water, and some blue, water it down. Okay. Got some of my brown here. Okay, so there you have your blue. Just add a little bit more here. And like I said, when this dries, it'll be, it'll have different little water marks. Okay, let's dry that off. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to float. I'm going to add another coat of white to my candy cane first here. Okay, let's float our, we're going to dry brush our gingerbread here. And to dry brush, I use a, it's a dome decorator dry brush, and it's a number 12. And you need some paper towel here. So I'll put my paper towel right next to my little project. And so I'm gonna load my bristles, and they're dry, with sable brown. So I fully load it. I'm gonna dry as much as I can onto my paper towel. And I always make sure that I get the sides too, because sometimes the paint is there as well. I'm gonna pick up some warm white. I'm gonna mix it on, dry it on the paper towel. So all I'm doing is toning it down one shade. I'm not making it like really, really white. So I'm gonna start from the face to the body here. And the feet. So you're doing the middle section of your gingerbread. So I need a little bit more here. So let me just pick up some more white, mix it on the brown here. Dry as much as you can. It's always best to go light than making it dark. Okay. And I think that's good. Okay. So now let's float around my gingerbread, and I'm going to use this Fulton. So I'm going to float all the way around. I'm going to add some to my palette here. Let's pick up from the corner and load it on my palette here. Okay, so it doesn't matter where you start. I'm going to go all the way around. And again, if you have to use your mop to soften the floats, you can. Oops. So just walk it, and then you're going to go underneath this leaf here, go the way around. So do a nice wide float. Okay, and I think I'm going to mop it up right here, just to tone it down. Okay, and along this little leg and the bottom section right here. There. And just soften this right here. So when you're softening and you're using your mop brush, just pounce on it. It just removes watermarks from the edge here, and it softens up the lines that got on it. Okay, I need to apply a little bit more white here because I can still see some blue. Then we're going to add some stripes to this. Okay. So let's keep working on our gingerbread while the candy cane is still drying. So now we're going to add some little cheeks to our gingerbread. And what I did was used alizarin crimson. Okay, I just need a little bit for now. I'm going to use the number 4 dome brush, and I'm going to use that dry as well. So I'm going to pick some up on my bristles and dry as much as you can, because the darker your cheeks, if you don't take off as much paint, I just want light little cheeks here. So I'm going to go at this side, and I'm going to go in circles, and then I'm going to apply some on the other side. Okay, and there's my cheeks. Okay, the icing I did freehand. If you feel like you need to trace it on, then you can. I used the, it is a number 50 detailer from, it's Micron. So I'm gonna wet this. I'm gonna just ink up my paint just a little bit here. And all I did was some wiggly little lines. So and I'm not adding pressure. I'm going to add some to my little hand here. Some of it is gone. Okay, load up again. And when you're loading your bristles, you're going to load all your bristles. And then when you get to the end, you're going to roll the tip on the palette. That way you have a nice form points at the end. Okay, so I'm going to apply here. Okay, so there's my icing. For the nose, I did Tuscan red. And just so you know, I like doing faces like at the end, the dots. Because what happens is the dots usually take longer to dry, and you're going to get your hand all over your project. So I like to do faces last. So I'm going to apply some Tuscan, actually it's not Tuscan red that I use, is True Red. And I did the stripes on the candy cane. Okay, and I used a number 6 shader. And so when it's loaded with water and very little paint, you don't want to overload your bristles. You're gonna just run down into like a little arch, the form of your candy cane. So let me just show you. So I wet my brush. I'm gonna load. So I'm gonna load, but not too thick, because you want a really nice fine line when you do this, okay? So I'm gonna start from the top side here, and I added a little arch. Okay, and we can add a second coat of red to it as well. So I'm going to leave a gap. Again, if you feel comfortable tracing your outline with the candy cane, then you can do so, or you can do it freehand. So right here, there's like the candy cane is over it, so you gotta kind of arch it from where it's laid, and then turn your bristles. Okay, and I like how this little end worked out here. Let's just wash that off, because you need a gap. So it's okay, like that. Okay, so we're gonna add another coat of red once that dries. So again, I'm gonna pick up some red. I'm gonna do the top layer first. Okay, and then, because I have a little bit more room, let's add a little mark right here. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry, and then we'll add another little coat there. So while that dries, we can move on to our berries. And our berries are done with True Red as well. And I used a number 4 round. So on here, I did like solid colors. You can also do it like a little watercolor, which is lighter. That's your choice. So let's just load this with True Red. Okay, and I'm gonna just base coat them. This too, you'll need a second coat. So I went right over the black ink. And if you get over your stamp here, just take a clean brush and just wash it off. Okay, so that's our first layer. Oops. Okay, this here dries pretty fast, so we can add our second layer of stripes here. So going back to my shader, I'm gonna go over top, and you can always do the opposite side. So I'm gonna go from this side. Okay, and just gonna go lightly there. I load every time with my bristles here. Okay, and my candy cane here. Okay, so now we'll let that dry. Okay, so my leaves, I did leaf green, so we can do that. Okay, put some on. You can use the round brush if you want, or a little shader brush. And so let's base coat our little leaves here. And this too, I went over the stamp lines. We can apply a second coat as well. just realized that I have no blue in this little section here, so I might have to add a little bit of blue, just because it's so white. There. Okay. Another little leaf here. Okay, and my hollies down here. Very pretty green. Okay, usually I always have all my base coats done ahead of time, but I wanted to share with you how to base coat stamps and a project from start to finish. Okay, so let's add another coat of True Red to the berries here. They should be dry by now. Okay, so now we have our solid colors. Okay, going back to our candy cane, we're gonna apply some shading with some Payne's Gray here. And I used my small shader brush, whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay, so load it to the side. I'm gonna load my brush. Okay, and I'm gonna start from the top here and work it from here. And because that one overlaps, I'm going to soften the edge here. And my red was still wet, which is okay. Let's just dry that a little bit more. My red is still wet. Let's just dry that. Okay. Yes. Okay, I'm going to reload here. I'm going to go on this side here. And along the edge of the cookie and the bottom part here. And for this, I do like to soften the blue. Okay, and let's go on to the other side here. And the blue that I used was Payne's Gray. I don't know if I mentioned it. Okay, and I go right to the little tip of the candy cane. Soften that up. Okay, and if you find that it goes over your line, just take a clean brush and just wipe it off. It makes a nice clean edge. Okay, so let's do the other side. Okay, go here, right to the tip. Okay, and I'm going to soften it. And when you find you have too much paint on your your mop brush, just take paper towel and just wipe it. It removes excess water when you're pouncing. Okay, so that's the Payne's blue, Payne's gray, I mean. So we're gonna let that dry a little bit and we're gonna add some highlights to it. So let's go back to our little berries. So I find the berries still not dark enough. So I'm gonna just color that in a little bit there. Try the soft color, painted another little coat. Okay. Okay, for my leaves, I'm gonna leave it like this because we're gonna add some highlights and some floating, some like dark shades. Oh, and you know what? I missed a leaf right there. I'm gonna just do that one. Okay, now. Okay, let's add our highlight to our candy cane, and that's with white. And again, I'm going to use my small shader brush. So I'm going to load with the warm white. Okay, and so I did it on the so this would be the right side. So along the blue, so I just did a little line right to the top. So that's my highlight. Okay, and I'm going to do it from here to right to the tip. So there's your highlight for your candy cane. Okay, I did for the hollies, the leaves, what I did was for the highlight, I loaded my shader, and you can use number 6 with the, I think it's leaf green. So I loaded on the palette here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white, so that's a mix of the two colors together to make it a little lighter. So you're going to highlight on the top part of the leaf here. Maybe I need a little bit more white. Okay, so right here. So all the top edge along the center, following the stamp line, I added a highlight. Okay, so there we go. And if you go over, just clean it. And then on the other side, it's I turned it so that it goes on the top right here. Okay. Turn your bristle on a tip when you get to the edge here. I'm just picking up some more white. And this one right here. Okay, so now if we have to, once it's dry, we can add a little bit more white. So we're gonna do the same for the big hollies here. When I clean my brush, I'm gonna pick some leaf green. I'm gonna go back and pick up some white here on the tip. Blend these two colors together. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight the top edge. So I need to turn my piece, and I'm gonna follow the lines of the stamp, and I'm gonna work it, the bristles, so that you walk the highlight more towards the center of the leaf here. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same here. Just walk it so there's a nice wide highlight. So I'm going to let that dry, and then we can add some to the edge here. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to add some little bit more white to these highlights, the ones that I find that I need the most. Let me add a clean drop of white here. Okay, so I'm just using white, I'm not mixing the green. So I want a little bit more white here. Might as well add it to all of it. There you go. I got more white on it. Okay, let me do the same for over here. Okay. Now I added some highlights just to the bottom. So let me pick up some green here and some white. Okay, and over here. So just walk it just so that it's different little shade here. Okay, so let's dry that off, and we can add our dark shadow. Okay, so the dark, I usually use a lamp black to darken my green, but I've got it upstairs, so I can use Payne's Gray. So this is leafy green. I'm loading my bristle, and I'm going to pick up a little Payne's Gray to make it darker. It's actually pretty. Okay, so now what I want to do is float at the bottom of the center area. Again, lift up your bristle when you get to little tight areas. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit more green here. Okay, and I'm going to turn my piece around here so I can get to the other side. Okay, and I did the same for my holly over here. So I did the bottom. And did I do a little other section? What I did was right here, once that dries, we're going to go back and do the little ends there. Okay, so let's leave the leaves dry, and let's go back to our little berries. So we need some alizarin crimson here. Okay, so let's float the bottom of the berries with the alizarin crimson. So they're little C strokes, okay, at the bottom, and then we're going to darken them. Okay, and over here. Okay, I need to go along the leaf here. Okay, so let's let dry, and then we're going to add it a little darker, darker highlight there, or float, sorry. Okay, let's do the outline of our stem here. So I use the detailer brush. I'm going to wet my bristles, and I'm going to pick up some leaf green. I'm going to load my bristle. I'm going to pick up some Payne's Gray, but normally would have been lamp black. Okay, so I'm going to start from here. I'm going to trace the stem. Okay, keep loading my brush. If you want to make the stem thicker, just add pressure to your handle of the brush, and that'll make it thicker. Okay, and right here. Okay, so I also did the center and around the leaves here with the same color. Okay, so I didn't apply pressure. I just went lightly, and it doesn't have to be a perfect little line because you're going to trace it with the white highlight as well after, over top. Okay, so I need to wet my brush a little bit more and load some more paint. So I'm making a puddle with the two colors together. Okay, and again I'm rolling the tip on the palette just to make it fine. Okay, I need to wet this, make this puddle inky. A little bit more here. The paint, the lamp black makes the green so much darker. The Payne's gray is pretty too. But not as dark. It's not as dark. Okay, a couple more here. Okay. We'll let that dry and then we'll go back with some white there. Okay, so now what I want to do is darken my berries a little bit more. So again, I don't have my lamp black. We're going to use alizarin crimson and some Payne's gray. So I'm going to load my bristles with alizarin crimson. I'm going to pick up some Payne's gray, mix those two colors together. It's actually pretty little float here. So I'm going back to the bottom here just to make it darker. Little C strokes. If you need to soften it with the mop brush, then do so. Okay, and over here. A little darker. Okay, so now we can add some highlights later when it's dry. And I just want to soften this up right here. Okay, so let's go back to our holly right here. So I darken the edge here with leafy green, some Payne's gray. Okay, so I went from this edge here, okay, and I did this side here, and I worked it out a little bit there, okay, and I'm going to do the same for over here. Just walk it out. Okay, I'm going to take my mop brush. I'm just going to pounce a little bit there. Okay, and I find like I need some dark here. Clean this up. Okay, so for the stems here, we're gonna use the detailer and use that same mixed green with the leafy green and some Payne's gray here. Okay, and so, whoops, just dropped my brush. Okay, so let's start from this end here, and I outline the edge. I'm not using a whole lot of pressure. I'm going to do the center. Okay, I need to wet my bristles a little bit more here. I'm making a puddle. More blue. Okay, and over here. Okay, and there's also like a stem holding these berries. Okay, and like that. Okay, so now let's make sure this is dry so that we can add our little highlight. Okay. For the highlight of the berries, all I did was take the detail and I added like a little line on the top. Like this. And for our leaves, I lightly added some warm white, okay? And I'm going to pick up some leafy green to make it a little lighter green. I want more white than the green, so let me do this. Okay, it almost looks minty, okay? So what I did was I went down the center and very lightly over top, and it could be messy so that you have two little different outlines here, okay? I'm going to do this one before I forget this one. So that it's wiggly lines, okay? It's not perfect, it just makes it cute. Okay, when you find it's dragging, wet your bristles a little bit more, make your paint more watery. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same for my hollies. Okay, so for the hollies, I went on the outside as well, and down the center I did the little veins. So I'm going to go down the center, okay, and I think I want to pick up a little bit more weight. And what I did was, without adding pressure, I added the little veins there. And then I went all along the edge. And I'm seeing the dark green that I did as well. I'm not fully covering my outline of the dark green. Okay, so you got two layers here. So I'm going to do this one again, down the middle. Okay, I'm going to do the little lines. I'm not using the stamp lines, I'm just adding new ones for the center vein. Okay. Okay, so now we have our hollies all done, our berries are done, And so for my happy holidays, you can either do this black, you can do it green, and you can, I used the alizarin crimson. So I load my bristles with the detail, okay, and I'm just going to trace, and I need to make sure my paint's not wet. So all I did was go over the original stamp outline. Okay. Oops, I got way too much paint on my bristles. Okay, clean this off. And with the ink in the background, it makes your red a little darker, and it has like makes it like a little shadow, if you can see it. Okay, so now we're okay to add our little detail face to our gingerbread. So what I did was I took a stylus here. Just grab one. So I took like the small dots and a big dot. Here's one with a big dot. So you got different styluses with you know, different size ball. So what I did was I took the true red, which I might need a fresh little dot here. Okay, I'm gonna dip in my stylus, and I'm gonna dot the little red nose, so in the center. And if you want to make it bigger, add pressure and just go in circles. So my nose is a little bit bigger. So I'm going to wipe this, okay, and I'm going to dip in the Payne's Gray because my lamp black is not with me. So I made a little fresh puddle. Okay, so I'm going to use the smaller ball. I'm going to dab the mouth here, but I want to make a teardrop, okay? And then I'm going to dab the eyes. So again, this is all freehand. Okay, so then I take my little detail, and you can wait till it's dry, or you can do it now. What I did was I made a little line on top of the eye here. Okay. To make little eyes. And then I took, do I still have some fresh white here? I'm going to load the brush with white, and I'm going to dab my cheeks, little dot. And I'm going to, you can wait till your paint is dry, or you can do it now. So I dotted my eyes, and that might need to be dry a little bit. Okay, so there I have my highlights on my face, and that pretty well covers the lid. Okay, so let's move this aside, and I want to work on the bottom part of the box here. So you can, this is your choice. You can, if you don't want to use modeling paste to do the snowflakes, you can always use just like the stenciling with the Stencil Pro brush. But I want to show you the little effect on with the modeling paste. I think it looks really cool. You can't even tell it's a paper mache box. So I also added some little speckles of warm white and lamp black. So we can do speckles. I just want to move this so I don't get speckles on top of my box. And so I have this here. I'm going to use some Payne's Gray and some warm white. Okay, so what I do is I take a fan brush, okay, this any size, it doesn't really matter. So I load my bristles, and I'm going to use Payne's Gray first, and I'm going to stand just for this. So I loaded it, it's wet, it's like a puddle, and I'm just going to take another brush, and I'm going to tap my barrel. Okay, and when it doesn't speckle, that means you need a little bit more water. Water down your paint. Okay, and a little bit more on this side. Try not to get some on my clothes here. I forgot to wear my apron. Okay, so now I'm gonna clean my brush. And I'm going to load with some warm white. The more watery your paint will be, the bigger the splatter your specks will be. Okay, so while that dries, we can do our little, get our modeling paste ready. Okay, let's just move that aside for 1 second. Okay, so I need, I used Deco Art Media modeling paste. You can use white or clear. It doesn't really matter because we're going to mix it with some extra sheen gold. Okay, so on my palette paper, I'm going to pick up some modeling paste. Okay, and I'm gonna do like a good amount here, but I'm just gonna show you one side instead of boring you with the whole little decor of the box, because you need to clean your stencil after each side that you do, okay, because it's a mini stencil here. So I picked up a fair amount. I'm just going to do the one side. So you need a fair amount of modeling paste. I hope you can see that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some gold on here. Okay, and I'm going to mix those two together. Okay, mix it well. Okay, on each side. Squish it. And there you have like a gold little paste. Okay, so you still need your palette, okay? So I have my my box. Let's do this side here. So I have my stencil. I'm going to place it here, okay? About here. And I'm going to hold on to it. If I have tape, you can always tape it, but you kind of have to take it off to clean it. Okay, so let me just place it here. Okay, so I'm going to pick up some paste here. So a fair amount. I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to walk it from, I'm going to spread it from the top. Okay, and go all the way to the bottom. Okay, and a little piece right here. Okay, so it's an even coat, okay? I got it all spread evenly, okay? So then I'm going to gently lift it up, okay? So I got a smudge here, so that's okay. I'm going to just take some baby wipe here. I'm just going to clean it off, and then you can go over it. And I'm going to clean my edge here. okay, because I got a little thicker here. So just clean it off. Okay, so now I have that little section done. I'm going to take a little section that didn't get paste on it. I'm going to just place it. I'm going to have to hold it. I'm going to pick up some more marling paste, and I'm going to work on the other end. Make sure you go right to the edge there and lift it up. So I'm going to clean this little blob there. So there you have the one side. So every time, okay, that you're going to do a clean side, you have to clean it, because what happens is you get paste on the other side and you're just going to make a mess on the clean side. Always make sure that the one side is dry before you continue, because you can lay this down and do this part, but you have to let those two dry in order to do the other two parts, unless you're going to lay it flat like this, okay? So let me just show you how to clean your stencil, okay? So you will need a lot of baby wipes for this. So, and be very gentle when you're cleaning your stencil, so that you're not breaking any of your snowflake cut, like little edges, okay? So clean this off. So I'm just wiping it gently, okay? I'm gonna take, you need a lot of paper towel too, so, because this needs to be dry to put it on your box. So I'm gonna wipe this, okay? So now it's dry, and I can do another side because I got a lot of modeling paste left. Okay, so I'm gonna put it on the side that doesn't have it. That side does, okay? So let me place this again, and I can use a different little angle. Let me get another piece of tape because I want to take it off. Okay, so right here. Okay, so let me just hold on to this side here. Again, I'm just spreading it like evenly. Okay. We'll take the excess off by scraping it. Okay. And lay that there. Lift it up gently. And take this off. If you have any little bumps you want to just dab off, then go ahead. So then I'm going to take the side, but it doesn't have a whole lot on that one. Okay, let me do like this. Okay, I'm going to, hope you can see this. Let me do this little edge right here. Okay, take it off. I'm going to clean off all those little blobs and lay this down. I need paper towel here. Okay, so see how it ran through? Because it might have had a little bit of water on the other side. What I just do is I take a clean little brush and I'm just gonna wipe it off. Okay, just clean it off. Right here, I don't like it. Okay. Okay, right here. Let me just take this off. So again, you gotta make sure your stencil is really dry so that your paste doesn't run through to the other side. I think that looks okay. Okay. And always make sure your fingers are clean for touching the other side of the boxes here. While that dries, let me just clean my stencil again. Hope you can see that. Let me just move that aside. Okay, so I'm cleaning it. I'm being very gentle. Again, when I'm completely done, what I'll do is I'll wash my stencil with some soap, just to make sure that all the paint is off, especially when you're working with glitter. Okay, and let's dry this off. Okay, I'm going to wipe my little palette here so that's dry. Again, I'll make sure this is dry. Okay, and then I'm gonna close this before my paste dries. Okay, so let me get that in there. Always make sure your lid is clean, your rim is clean there before you put your lid back on. And the reason I put saran wrap in there is just so it doesn't dry, keeps it moist. I'll put my lid back on, put that aside. Okay, so I might as well finish showing you how to do this, but I don't know if you, so if you're not gonna dry it, this is what I did. I held it this way, but hopefully you can see what I'm still doing, okay? So it's leaning on the bottom edge, okay, without laying it flat. So I took my paste, okay. Okay, let me take this off. Okay, that'll work better. Okay, take the little dabs. Cute. Okay, let me clean my hands. Like I said, you're gonna use a lot of baby wipes. Okay, so I always touch, oh, I still got paint on my hands. Okay, so always make sure you're touching the bottom and the top edge here. So let me add snowflakes there. Okay, scrape it off. Okay, so we got one more side to do. Okay, so let's clean this again. So like I said, you need to clean this every time because it goes through to the other side here. Okay. Dry this off. Make sure I'm not ruining my snowflakes. Add light pressure, okay? Okay, one more. So again, I'm not gonna lay it flat. I'm just gonna lean it on the bottom edge here. Okay. Let's bring this down just a little bit more. And I think I'm gonna have just enough paste. Whoops, I think it moved. Okay, lift it up. It's not bad. Take out those little dabs. Okay, and one more little section over here. Just turn this. And I just made it with the paste. Okay. See, I've got all my four corners. So I'm gonna lay that to dry. That really takes a while to dry. I'm gonna clean my palette off. My palette knife here. Let's take a baby wipe. Okay. Now let's clean it one more time. I'm gonna take this off. Again, I'll bring it to my sink and clean it with some soap. Okay, let's put this aside. Okay, I'm gonna make sure my hands are clean. Okay, so for the finishing touch of my lid and the box, I used Decor Galaxy varnish. This is what made the nice little glitter on the lid. I also applied it to the bottom box when it was fully dry. So if I take a clean palette here, pull this out, let me just use this one here. Okay, so I never usually show you how to varnish, but I will today, the lid anyways. So this Galaxy adds like silver sparkles. So when you're looking at an angle, it's very pretty, different little areas. I do need to make sure that my eyes are dry first. I don't want them to smudge. Try to be gentle when I go over top of this. Okay, so mix your varnish really good. That way it distributes those little sparkles that's in the varnish, okay? So I'm gonna add some on my palette here. And I like to use either a flat wash, or you can use the Palmer #1 brush here. So I want to make sure that I had the paste taken off of it. Okay, so I'm going to load it really good, and I always do the sides first. Okay, so spread an even amount. And if you added a second coat of varnish, like after letting it dry, you'll get more sparkles. So the more layer of varnish that you apply, the more glitter that you'll get. Okay, so I'll need a little bit more for the top part. Okay, so make sure you get to the edge and back. Nice even layer. So if you don't want to use glitter, just use the Decor Clear matte varnish or satin. They have gloss, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I've applied my little layer. I'm going to let that dry, and I think I have enough little sparkles on this one. Okay, so that concludes my project today. I hope you enjoyed it. So please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I look forward to making more projects with you, and thanks for joining me.